Welcome back. This is Arise News. You're watching the morning show with me, Oji Akpi. Nigeria's Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, on Wednesday launched a national campaign against fake news, calling the phenomenon a time bomb that can denote with deadly consequences if left unchecked. He also went on to say the essence of the campaign is to sensitize all Nigerians to the dangers posed at the peace and security, and indeed the corporate existence of Nigeria by the phenomenon, and each and every Nigerian has a role to play in curtailing the spread of fake news. My guests and I will be talking about this today. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so you heard him, right, about fake news. What's your thoughts on this, Ayo?
I think it's very dangerous,
Yes.
honestly. Anytime I hear news or read a blog or something, I kind of take it with a grain of salt. Nigerian news, I assume there's some element of sensationalism to it.
Yes.
So, but it's dangerous because, like, the crisis between the herdsmen and the farmers.
Exactly.
I heard some of the pictures are not actually events that happen in Nigeria, and people are just putting pictures out there to, you know, make it seem. I mean, it is a big deal, but you need to report what is real. So it's a bit dangerous because. You know.
And tell me, Victor, what are your thoughts on this?
I think I agree with the minister that it's a ticking time bomb.
It is.
Okay, and if it's not handled effectively, there are all kinds of consequences that we can suffer, not just in the general political space, which is where most of this is driven, but in everyday business. Having access to the right information at the right time is critical to success. So it's important not just for us to know how to filter what is right and what's wrong, or what's true and what's false. Yes, knowing how to filter it. And also know what to take seriously and not seriously. So.
Okay, tell me.
All right, it's really a good thing that the minister has come up to see that he said. I want to give an example of what happened in India recently.
Okay.
You know, that a man was mobbed and killed just because of some fake news that was going around.
Oh my goodness. So I don't think I heard that.
Oh yes. I read it up. You know, and which goes to where I get my news from.
Why did they kill this man?
I think there was a news that went around that I think someone that looked like him.
Okay.
That he about a child, something that had to do with child abuse, something like that.
Okay.
And then they thought it was him, and then he was mobbed and he was killed. And I think it happens like that in the several other stories about, you know, in India that has come up, several other places around. So yes, and fake news, I think, is mostly, you know, circulated via WhatsApp, kind of, you know. Yes, I think WhatsApp messages, forwarded messages, I really, you know, take those things with a pinch of salt. I don't really, you know, except I read them on maybe like Arise News, or read them off, you know, the proper news channel. Then I keep giving value to it.
So where do you get your source from? If you had to go on news besides just Arise News and
I read. Should I call the names? I read Punch online. Yes. I read the Pulse online. I get these notifications, so on a daily basis, I just go and read, okay, this is what's happening now, and this is what's happening now.
So
okay,
instead of just on social media, you have to go
social media.
There. And what about you, Victor? What would you say your source of news?
Well, for me, it's primarily social media. Ironically, yes, mostly social media. But like I said, it's about knowing how to filter what's true and what's false. Especially if it's something that has to do with our economy, or something that has to do with the politics in this, or some kind of social problem. Usually, I don't accept everything at once. I just basically.
Tell us, how do you filter? What do you
Okay, so
filter?
for me, once I get the news, what I generally do is I go to Google.
Great. Okay.
Okay, so when I check that news there, I check the various sources.
Okay, one question is, why would you want to verify that particularly? How do you know that this may not be true,
if it's something that affects me and impacts my ability to live comfortably in Nigeria, I am going to go check and find out if that is true or not. So that's that.
Okay, can you tell me, how do you get your source of news?
Social media.
And I'm going to be honest, social media.
She's like
something that really interests me, then I will follow up with like online newspapers.
Okay, wait, tell me why. Do you not have social media on your palms?
Okay, I give you a simple example. I'm not going to call the handle. There was this recently, a child got missing, and then a social media, an Instagram blogger actually carried the news, but the location where this thing happened, he carried, it was the wrong, because I'm aware, I know.
Oh, you were?
Yes, first-hand information. I was like, see this guy now. He has talked about this thing, but look at the location.
I think that the blog sites are like the worst places to go get news from. I don't even know how they become so successful. People really go to blogs to read news, and half of it is basically just people trying to sell their platform.
Exactly.
And I don't understand how they're able to. Okay, so tell me something. What's the most bizarre thing that you've seen on social media?
Can I start with that?
Yes. I would love to hear you, because you've talked about the man that died, you've talked about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I read a lot.
I thought that was bizarre, but tell me.
You know, I'm sure you know about this. It went around. In fact, it's been going on for years now.
Yeah.
They say some people, some northerners, maybe some Malams put HIV virus in fruits. Don't buy fruits from. I'm like, hello. How can you put HIV virus inside a fruit and they expect it? You know, and it's been going on, and people still forward such messages. I'm like, please. It's not possible. It's a virus. Yeah, so that's
Tell
one.
me, I'd like to hear from you. What's the most bizarre thing that you've read? Or what's the thing that you're like, oh, for sure this is fake? There's no way this could be
Oh no, this
real.
it's very recent.
Yeah.
I won't mention names, but you know, some governors, you know, or senators having issues, and then they show up with a neck brace. And you know, it's.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that recently, and people were making jokes and had like
come on, it's ridiculous.
I saw that. Victor, I want to hear from you. You're the filter guy.
I would have to be the most boring person when it comes to scandalous news, because I really, really don't. I think the most scandalous thing I have seen, and you guys are just going to look at me and like, what's wrong with them, was when the news went around that the gospel singer Don Wen was dead. So I think that's about as scandalous as it gets for me.
And then he came up and said, oh, I'm alive.
So this is your question, Victor. I want to ask you, how do you think that the government can create a balance with like this fake news thing, and how do you think that it would affect us with our freedom of speech?
I don't think, as far as the internet is concerned, outside of censoring the internet, which I do not completely agree. I don't agree with that at all. There should be that level of freedom. But I think to a very large extent, especially when it comes to news that has to do with Nigeria, I think, first of all, making a case for responsible reporting on the part of media houses. Okay, and then, of course, proactively getting ahead of the news, because for the most part, media houses are just as have as much access to this news as literally every other person. So when this thing pops up on social media, I think it's in the place of media houses with online reach to basically get ahead of it and be a source for responsible reporting rather than the sensationalism that is so popular on social media.
Right. What do you think?
Okay, well, I would say that first of all, the people in charge of the agency in charge of, I think it's the NCC or something. Yeah, I think they're doing a lot in terms of trying to, you know, curb things and all that. So now that the minister has narrowed it down to fake news, I think the same body, you know, they should come up with laws and things, yes, that can, so that before any blogger or anyone puts up a certain news, you know, they should have that moral, not just moral, they should know that there's something that's going to be hitting them hard.
I like that.
If they put in, you know, but if it's just an appeal, or if it's just a moral angle now, they may, hey, I just want to sell my, I just want people to come here and read stuff up, you know. So but if they know that, oh, maybe there's a jail term waiting for them or something, I don't know if I'm being so hard, but
no, you're not.
I think if some measure of, you know, some measure of punishment or something is put in place, I'm sure people would, before that news or before those, such fake news is being generated, to think about it and then to stop them.
I had such an amazing time with you guys on this panel. Thank you guys so much for coming. I really enjoyed it. This brings us to the end of the morning show today. I am Oji Akpi. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.